The communication tool is used as an interoffice email or intercommunicative device within the database. The communication tool can be accessed from various different areas of the system. For example, if you wanted to generate a message directly from a patient's chart, you can do so either via the iScheduler, the EMR, eDocuments, billing portal, so on and so forth. However, if you just need to navigate into the communication inbox, you will do so via the My Task List. So let's go ahead and talk about how to access the communication task list. Navigating to the upper left-hand corner of the screen, communication is always going to be listed as the first option for a user's task list. You'll notice that the communication inbox will also display the number of unread messages. This is very similar to email. So if you do have multiple messages sitting in your inbox, but those have been read, for example, you can see my inbox here does display 3 messages, but only 2 of them have been marked as unread, then of course that number will be represented here. Now, if a user does have a message marked as high priority, meaning that this is a high priority message, that will display a little red dot on the actual manila envelope within the My Task List, just to display to the user that they do have something marked as unread that is considered a high priority message, and they should go into their task list to review that. Now, within the communication inbox, you do have 3 separate boxes. You have the actual inbox, which shows items that you've received, your sent items, which of course will show you any message that you have sent under your user, and then your deleted items, which of course will delete messages and keep those inside of your deleted box. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual inbox. Again, very similar to your emailing system. This should be pretty similar to what you're used to with pure emailing. We do have the ability to arrange messages various ways, either by date, user, subject, or certain priority, which would fall under your low priority, normal priority, and high priority items. You can also search for messages utilizing the search box here. Now, I've chosen to arrange my inbox by date just to kind of display those messages in order that I have received them. And we'll go ahead and take a look at a couple of example messages that a user can receive. First and foremost is an actual email message, very similar to an email where you just receive a message, you read it, and then you choose what to do with the message from there. Now you'll see that email messages will have a little manila envelope. There are other types of messages, such as a task, that will have a different type of icon on that first left-hand column, as you see displayed here. So for example, this medication question message that I've received is actually not an email message per se, it's actually a task, and you can see that utilizing that little clipboard icon. That's also showing that I have received a task. Now let's go ahead and start with the actual messages. Messages, again, that are marked with the little manila envelope that have attachments associated with them will display a little paperclip icon. So if we click on this message, very similar to email, that message will display on the right-hand side of the screen where you can look at the subject, the sender, who it was sent to, and at what time. And if there is an attachment, such as a patient's chart, a claim, or a document of some sort, you can actually click on that attachment and it will take you to that appropriate item, or it'll open up that attachment on the screen so you can see what exactly was attached. In this example, a patient's chart was attached. So if I do click on this, it will open up the patient's chart in the EMR so that I can go and look at previous lab results, or I can go and look at maybe their copy of their last note, or whatever may be applicable for this specific message. Now you do have some different action items located at the top of the screen, such as creating a new message. You can print messages, delete messages, reply all, forwarding messages, and then you've got a couple of tasking options here. Now your tasking options typically are going to be utilized for tasks only. You can utilize the complete option for a message if you would like. That's not really necessary. If a user did send a message to you, they're not necessarily asking for you to do anything with it. This is just letting you know, hey, something has been sent to you, but no action is needed. You can even see that delivered in the actual message. This user chose to type that in, no action needed on your part. Now let's look at an actual task. So if I click on my task here, you've got the additional options highlighted where you can actually own the task. You'll notice that complete is not available for me to click on just yet, nor is the reassign task. That's because this task was actually sent to a group of individuals in which I am a part of that group. So it was sent to the nursing group. My user is a part of that nursing group. If I choose to own this task, this will take that task away from every other user in the nursing group, meaning that I will take ownership and I will be the user to either reassign the task to someone else or complete the task. If I choose to leave this in my inbox for someone else to own, of course, by the time someone else owns it, it will remove that task from my list. So keeping in mind that once a task is owned by a user, it will take it away from other users so that it's not cluttering other users' inboxes. Now, if for whatever reason I choose to delete this message, it doesn't delete the message from the other users' inboxes. It's just deleting it from my inbox. The other question we get a lot of the time is, what if I delete this message from my inbox? Does it delete it from the patient's chart? And that also cannot occur. So it's just deleting the message from the inbox, not deleting it from other people's inboxes, and not deleting the message from the patient's chart. Let's talk about how to own the task. If for whatever reason I decide that I want to go ahead and own this task, I'll go ahead and select Own Task at the top of the screen. You'll notice that that highlights the other options located at the top where I can either choose to complete the task or reassign it to somebody else. So let's say a task was sent to the nursing group and I know that that's not really my patient, but I do know the other nurse is going to be on vacation for a while, so I'll go ahead and own it, or maybe I'll keep it in my inbox and then reassign it to her when she comes back. You can, of course, work through those specific scenarios as they become applicable to your practice. Now from here, if I choose to reassign the task, that'll give me the ability to basically reassign it to someone else, which kind of looks like forwarding that message if you're familiar with those terms when it comes to emailing. So you would actually choose a user or a group of users to send that to. You can actually attach a additional message to that. Think of that as generating a thread to the original task. So if you wanted to say, hey, I looked at this isn't my patient, I'm not sure how to complete this, can someone else grab this? You could reassign it to somebody else. Now, if I wanted to say, I want to mark this as complete, so maybe I called the patient, explained the new medication. I don't need to really notify anybody that something else needs to be done. I just need to say, hey, I finished this and now it's complete. And I want to put those notes in the chart so that if somebody comes back and says, did anybody ever call Mike to explain the medication side effects? We can actually select complete, which gives me the ability to put in a completion message. So we could say called patient and explained details. When I hit OK, that will attach those completion details to the actual message. Now from here, I can delete that from my inbox. And if someone were to navigate into the patient communications within the patient's chart, they would be able to see that original task and the completion details that I've documented here. Now, generating a new message from the office communication is possible, but for the best practice to generate a communication with a patient's chart attached, I do recommend referring to our other training video that talks about how to generate a message from a patient's chart. If you do wish to generate a communication from the actual My Task List, you can do so just by clicking on that New button. This does give you the ability to attach a patient's chart or a document or a claim, but you do have to go through the actual search process to figure out what that chart number is and what that document ID might be. So if you are trying to create a communication that has those items attached to the message, it's most likely going to be easier. And again, our recommended best practice would be to go to the patient's chart first and then generate the message from there. But if you do wish to generate a message that doesn't have an attachment or doesn't have a patient's chart attached to it, you can do so just by creating a simple little message like this. So if I wanted to say, hey, I want to send a message to Carol to let her know, have a fun vacation, I could just say, enjoy your PTO, and I'll take care of your work while you're out. Thanks, Alex. I can actually send that message over to Carol. And again, that doesn't necessarily get documented inside of any patient's chart because of course there is nothing attached here, but it does save inside of my sent communication. So if I ever wanted to go back and look at that message that I had sent to Carol, I would have the ability to go into my sent messages. Again, very similar to your emailing system. So I could send that message off. This is going to conclude our training on how to navigate through the communication task list. Again, for additional information on how to generate a message with an attachment utilizing our best practices, I would recommend navigating to one of our other training videos titled Generating a Patient Communication. If you would like more information on the communication list, please, of course, feel free to visit officeemr.knowledgeowl.com.